There's some public polling already. There's more coming. And there's some private polling that suggests that nationally in the battleground states, she's not ahead. She might be ahead on paper, but well within the margin of error. And there's some battleground states now where I think Donald Trump's on this trajectory is going to be ahead. And it may be, regardless of what happens in the interview and regardless what happens in the debate, it may be that by the middle of September, when things have calmed down, when the Trump campaign have had time to prey on some of the weaknesses that I suggested, that he's ahead in all the Sun Belt states and ahead in Pennsylvania and competitive in Michigan and Wisconsin, which would be roughly where Joe Biden was before the debate, with a single path to 270 electoral votes, the 3 Great Lakes states and Nebraska too. And that'd be a scary position for the Democratic Party to be in from mid-September through Election Day.
And it just got worse. That interview last night was, according to one report, an absolute dumpster fire. And everyone saw it. Everyone. Kamala's scripted, pre-recorded, 18-minute CNN fiasco sitting next to her emotional support animal is getting absolutely ridiculed all across social media today. It was an abject disaster, and it gets worse from there. We're going to see the latest polling that Mark Halperin, who you just heard there, a former ABC News reporter, the polls he's referring to are a complete nightmare for the Democrats. Today is, of course, August 30th, just 68 days or so away from the election day. We, the proud members of the ever-expanding MAGA movement, we are excited. We're pumped. We're completely and totally right. I mean, we shut down any and all momentum coming out of that Democrat joke of a convention with a historic realignment between the populist left and the populist right, and Robert Kennedy joining forces with President Trump. Trump almost immediately got a 2 to 3 point bump in the polls, particularly in the swing states. All as Kamala's polling began to sink like a rock, despite the best efforts of the legacy media, puff polling, this polling mafia media trying to prop up her numbers with these ridiculous response bias polls. We, the MAGA movement, are not even remotely fooled by it. We know we're winning. We know Trump is stronger than he has ever been. We know that he is more popular than he has ever been, that he is better, far better positioned to win this upcoming election than he ever was, ever in 2016 or in 2020. We know that, and we're pumped. We're ready to go. We're rocking. We're taking the steps needed to secure the election. We're registering voters at a record number. Republicans are far outpacing Democrats, even in California. Republican registration is crushing it, even in freaking California. But most especially my own backyard here in the key swing state of Pennsylvania, we're out registering Democrats 4-1. We are pumped. We are excited. We are elated. We cannot wait to take this new populist realignment to the polls and vote for the historic return of number 45 as number 47. Gang, we often talk on this channel about how we can maintain and build up the conservative way of life. And one crucial aspect of that is, of course, your health. Staying strong physically and mentally isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. So I partnered with the amazing patriots at Beam because they're a health and wellness company that's put in the time and rigorous research to craft science-backed solutions that truly optimize every system in your body from the moment you wake up until you lay your head down to sleep. And that is where Beam has been amazing in my own life. I've been using Beam Dream now for a while, and gang, it has completely changed the way I sleep. I'm frankly a horrible sleeper. I used to toss and turn while my mind raced at night, but since taking Dream, it's been an absolute game changer in my life, gang. I'm out like a light, and have the most restful sleep ever all throughout the night. Beam Dream is made with the highest quality sleep-promoting ingredients to help you unwind and get the deep sleep you need and deserve. It's become a nightly ritual of mine that I look forward to. Plus, I never wake up feeling groggy the next morning. Instead, I feel refreshed and ready to take on the day. And they're offering Turley Talks listeners an exclusive discount of up to 40% off site-wide for a limited time. Just click on that QR code on the screen or use the link down below to get the best night of sleep you've had in years and propel your wellness journey into the next stage. Click that QR code or go to shopbeam.com/Turley Talks for your amazing discount. Over on the other side, however, on the Democrat side, this day, August 30th, 68 days away from the election. For the other side, this day is a nightmare. It's a nightmare from which they cannot wake up. Make no mistake. The Democrats are in an absolute panic right now. That interview, that supposed gift, that CNN scripted, pre-recorded, choreographed, edited, wrapped in a box with a bow on top interview was an abject train wreck. And everyone saw it. Everyone. It wasn't just her inability to give an intelligible answer. It was the optics of the whole thing. Someone pointed out that Kamala looked completely dwarfed, like when you go to a back to school night and the teacher doesn't have enough adult-sized chairs, so mom has to take the kinder chair. That was from Roseanne Hoge, I believe. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, because that's exactly what it looked like. But more than that, during the interview, I mean, she just looked
Republican to your cabinet.
She looked tired. She was slumped over. She looked like she didn't want to be there. She often hesitated in her answers. She slurred her words. That's why so many people on social media today are asking whether she was drunk. She was constantly looking down. Are you noticing that? She was constantly looking down as if referencing notes. It was an optics disaster. I love this. Somebody posted this on X. These are the faces actors make when trying to remember their lines. I mean, look at that. That's so good. Now, frankly, the disaster actually all started before the interview with a clip that CNN shared to preview the interview. Now, again, make no mistake. A preview, as someone who's in broadcasting, a preview is always one of the best moments of the upcoming show, right? It's one of the most enticing moments because the whole point of the clip is to get you to want to watch the whole thing. So as far as CNN editors were concerned, this, I kid you not, this is the best Kamala had to offer.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and, by extension, the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed.
So, folks.
Now, you did just hear her say that, and I'm going to quote it. I'm going to quote it just to confirm for you that you were just burdened with that. This is what she said, quote, "We should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time." According to the queen of word salads, it is now the highest priority that we as a nation have deadlines around time. Deadlines around time. Gang, do I even need to ask, what is a deadline? If I say to you, you have a deadline here, what did I just say? Can you imagine someone coming back and saying, oh, by deadline, you mean I had to have it done by a certain time? Really? I didn't know the deadline involved time. I didn't know that because I'm voting for Kamala, right? But according to Kamala, that's something that is a #1 priority for this nation, is that we need to add to the definition of the deadline to include time. And you'll notice, to make it even worse, as if it could get worse, Dana Bash asked the question of why she's flip-flopping on so many issues, which, by the way, she never answered. You notice that? Why are you flip-flopping on so many issues? My values haven't changed. Yes, but your issues have. Your positions have. Your positions have changed dramatically. But I digress. Dana Bash asked that question while at the same time providing Kamala with multiple choice answers. Why are you flip-flopping so much? Is it because you've matured? That's the first option. Is it because you're mature? Is it because you're just getting better? Or is it because you previously were running a Democrat primary? You know, select A, B, or C. I mean, again, you just compare that T-Bowl interview, and that's what it was. It wasn't a softball interview. This was T-Bowl. This was nursery school. You compare that toddler interview with Dana Bash's ridiculously hostile interview with J.D. Vance, which he knocked out of the park, by the way. They're intellectually just at completely different levels. But Bash not only asked questions that read like Democrat talking points, she actively pushed back and defended and championed Kamala Harris in that interview. Hell, she did a better job defending Kamala than Kamala does. Now, I came across a perfect example of how the legacy media plays favorites here, okay? If you need, go ahead and look this up. You can find this on Twitter. Just do, I think I did CBS News, Trump tips. Tax tips. CBS News Trump tax tips. I think I did that because I found this somewhere else, but this interview made me think of this. Look at this thing. Yeah, blow it up so we can all see it. So the original one, the one on the left, if you're listening by way of our 20 million podcast downloads here, we're looking at 2 CBS tweets out. The first one is from June 17th, 2024. Former President Donald Trump's vow to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion. That's billion with a B, over 10 years, according to an unnamed, nonpartisan watchdog group. Anytime they say nonpartisan, you know they're far left-wing nuts. So that was from CBS News on June the 17th. Here's CBS News. Here's their tweet on August 12th. Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. And then look at the two images, gang. Those of you can see, right? If you're not on podcast, look at the two images. Look at them. Trump scowling under a gray overcast sky. And then you got Kamala, and she's like, she's in front of an excited audience, animated, ready to fight for you. I mean, seriously, this would make Kim Jong-un blush. I mean, even he would tell his North Korean media press, yo, guys, don't make it so obvious. But needless to say, that interview, it went all downhill from there. For example, here's Kamala's answer for what she would do on day one of her presidency. Now, again, keep in mind, just by contrast, it's a very specific question. What are you going to do on day one? Trump has answered it numerous times. I'm going to close the border immediately. I'm going to do exactly what Biden and Harris could have been doing every single day of their administration over these last 3.5 years. I'm going to close the border immediately. I'm going to, and then I'm going to drill, baby, drill. I'm going to sign an executive order that removes all impediments to energy independence on day one. I'm going to close the border, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. Contrast that with how the Democrats' new nominee, somebody who did not get a single vote in the primaries, here's how she answered that very same question.
If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at
Can we stop? Can you guys stop for a second?
aspiration,
Can you stop?
Well-
How long did it take her to say that? Well, first of all, good question. One of my first priorities that I've been thinking about, for all my life, I mean, she didn't know how to answer the question. She's literally trying to search for something there. I'm sorry. Keep going.
there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
Now, this is hard. There's a simple test here. No, this isn't hard. Objectively speaking, if you're not all in with Kamala, then you're just a rabid ideologue. But I mean, seriously, just so let's just say you're interested in Kamala. Well, all right, maybe you're considering voting for her. Just ask yourself, what is she going to do on day one of her presidency? Explain to all of us here, what is she going to do? Exactly. Precisely. What is she going to, based on what you just heard, explain to us precisely what is she going to do on day one of her presidency? Is she going to sign anything? Is she going to issue an executive order? Is she even going to hold a meeting? What is she going to, and this is key, do? What is she going to do? The answer was so pathetically and obviously vague so as to be utterly worthless. That's not my opinion. Frank Luntz, the focus group guy, the rabid never Trumper, said exactly that. Again, this is a guy who wanted Kamala to knock it out of the park in this interview. He wanted her to succeed. He wanted to frolic around celebrating, oh, we're going to win a landslide. Instead, his jaw dropped when he heard answers like that, non-answers. This is clearly someone who is not ready for prime time, as admitted by the ones who are actually cheering for her.